we are joined by 11-year MLB pitcher, host of the Big Mahomes Show on the Ebony Podcast Network, and father of the Chiefs quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. Let's give it up for our guy, Pat Mahomes. How we doing, Pat?
Doing great, guys. How y'all doing?
We're great, man. We're so
Good,
glad you're
man.
here, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today, man. I want to start here with the podcast, the Big Mahomes Show on the Ebony Podcast Network. You and I have never talked about this, but I'm really interested to know this. How exactly did this show come about? Who convinced the great Pat Mahomes to get into the podcast game, and how much fun have you been having since you started this thing?
Well, I had met a lady named Lavelle who does various things with like books and stuff like that, and she just kind of hinted it out there to me, and it sounded like something that I would like to do. I love talking sports. I don't like to be too critical. I just want to go out there and talk a little bit and try to enlighten people on a little stuff that I know and that I've been through.
Well, you pitched 11 seasons in the major leagues. You pitched for 6 ball clubs and a career ERA of 2.25 and a 1.42 ERA in the 1999 NLCS versus the Braves. You and I have discussed your career in the past, and one of the stories that stuck with me the most was when you mentioned your experience with veteran players early on in your career. If you could you expand on that and give us some real insight of what it was like finding your place in the majors?
Well, it was kind of strange. When I went up, I was actually the number one prospect in baseball, and the year before, the Twins actually won the World Series. They beat the Braves, and so I went to my first big league camp. I got to go up there and kind of be around it. I wasn't able to stay for the games and nothing like that, but I got to go practice with the guys and do all that stuff the year before. So I knew a few of the guys already. The next spring training in Fort Myers, we had one spot open, and it was like 5 of us trying out for one spot. And the manager, Tom Kelly, actually said that whoever pitched the best would get the spot. Well, make a long story short, I end up getting the spot, and so I was the only rookie on the team. So being a rookie, first of all, I know some of the guys, but not really know them. I mean, I've seen them, I've played with them, but I really haven't been around them a lot. So I would ask some of the veteran pitchers, about how they held certain pitches or how they, what their mindset was, and pretty much all of them to a man were pretty cold. They like, hey, get away from me. You'll be trying to take my job next year or whatever. And so I just kind of had to learn it all on my own, and it took a while. So that's why I felt the need when I retired was when Patrick was getting ready to go back to high school, and I figured I needed to be there to kind of give him some of the knowledge about the sports that I had played and what I'd seen, so that he would be that much further ahead of the game.
Well, I grew up playing baseball. I wasn't nearly as good as some other people, but it was my favorite sport to play. And to quote the great Michael Scott from The Office, I wouldn't say I'm superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. Mm-hmm. Was Pat Mahomes superstitious? And if so, maybe describe some of your superstitions that you subscribe to.
I think all baseball players are superstitious. I was big time superstitious. If I wore certain things to the ballpark that day and I pitched good, then I was going to wear it the next day or the next time I pitched. I jumped the lines, when I came off the field. I never did want to, hit the chalk lines. I talked to myself. I just had like little different quirks that I would do. I would drive to the ballpark the same route, stuff like that. And I've always been superstitious. I'm still superstitious. I even do it with Patrick. As his first year starting, I wore the outfit the first game. September, the weather was pretty good. I had some white shorts and a white jersey and some stuff on, and he ended up having a really good day that day on the playing football. So I think he threw 4 touchdowns or whatever his first game there. And so I had to wear it every game, and they won. So we got through like 5 games, and end up having to be in New England, and it was freezing out, and here I was out there with those white shorts on and a white jersey. I was like, kind of hoping for a loss, so I could finally put some clothes back on.
Like thanks, Patrick. I needed to change, man. And I was starting to feel it. I was starting to go numb a little bit over here. And just for the record, Pat, you can always throw layers on top, and it still counts for you wearing that. Just to throw that out there, man.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that at the time. But I know I damn near froze to death.
The superstition stays. I promise. But I try to keep a positive outlook on things. But the current state of the MLB, to say the least, is pretty bleak, man. And we were just actually talking about it in the Eddie Hour. And the Players Association and the league have met several times this offseason, and they just can't seem to gain any traction on getting an agreement in place. I know the competitive Competitive Balance Act, it's also known as a luxury tax, penalizes top spending clubs that exceed the payroll threshold, and that's the major holdup in all of this because the players contend it's a financial disincentive, and I get that. But Pat, I know you have folks on the ground and in the inside, and I just want to know what they're telling you. I know you and I have talked. We were on the Big Mahomes show a little over a week ago, I believe, and I got to know as a baseball fan, and there's a lot of people out there that want to know. I mean, are we going to miss games here, or what's going to happen here, man?
Well, I think we probably are going to miss a few. It's unfortunate whenever you get into labor arguments and trying to get a collective bargaining agreement. You have a lot of underlying issues, a lot of things. The last collective bargaining, players gave up a lot of stuff, and they were more concentrated on other things than what they should have been concentrating on. And I think now that they're doing it again, they don't want to make the same mistakes, so they're trying to get some of that stuff back, and the owners are not willing to give it back, which that's why it's negotiation. But these things never end quickly. Just to be honest with you, and being now that they're saying that it's a Monday deadline or they're going to start missing games, well, I just don't see no way that it's going to get done by Monday. I mean, they had a meeting. I know they've been having meetings every day now, but they had a meeting last week and it lasted 15 minutes. So, I mean, a lot isn't getting done real quickly. So, I hope that they don't miss games, but if I was procrastinating on it, I would say that they're definitely going to miss some games. The season's definitely going to start a little bit later.
Well, I hate hearing that, Pat, but I think you're right, man. But I want to move into something when it comes to football. I remember in 2018, you had told me a famous story of when it was first predicted that your son Patrick would one day be a quarterback or one day play football. If you could you share that story to our audience today, man? Because I truly enjoy this one for obvious reasons.
Well, I was playing independent baseball, and I went by a buddy of mine's house, and I've been driving all day. We had drove up. I think I just left Omaha. I did a little stint with Omaha, and then I came up or whatever. And so my son, Patrick was super hyper. He'd always want to be playing something, and I was tired. So my buddy went out with him, and they were throwing the football. And he ran a route. Patrick's probably about 11, 12. He ran a route. Patrick threw the ball, hit him right up beside the cheek. He's like, damn, So he ran another route the other way, and he hit him against the other cheek. So
he turned the other cheek, huh?
Yeah, he comes in and he's looking at me. He goes, I know you want your son to be a baseball player. He said, but your son's gonna be a quarterback. I'm like, man, you're crazy. Ain't no way he's gonna be a quarterback. That's his worst sport. He's not gonna play quarterback or whatever. And lo and behold, he ended up being the quarterback. But he said he's not. Not only did he say he's going to be a quarterback, he said and we're yet to this point. But he said that not only is he going to be a quarterback, he's going to be the best quarterback in the league. And I'm like, he doesn't even play football like that. He just messes around with it. So I guess he knew what he was talking about because he's a quarterback. And my little baseball dream was it didn't get to happen.
Well, I think the alternative is all right, if we're being honest. But speaking of Patrick and his NFL career, he's kicked off a career unlike anything we've ever seen. And he's already experienced so much individual and team success, but we've also seen him and his team fall short of the overall goal a couple times in his early career. You and Patrick have one of the true unique father-son relationships because you both have been and are top-tier professional athletes. And we all know that Patrick is a resilient and determined man and athlete, but I'm sure it doesn't hurt having a father that is not only there as his dad, but also understands the stage that he's on. How do you, as both his father and a former major leaguer, help guide him through these challenges, such as a crushing loss in the AFC Championship that we just saw a month ago? There was literally a tale of two stories from one half to the next.
Well, I really try to listen. I watch the games and I see different stuff, and we text during the week, and I tell him different things that I think could help him out and stuff like that. But I mostly watch him to see if I'm seeing anything different. I think a big key with him is his feet. When they start chopping real quick, I think he doesn't read the field as well. So, I constantly tell him, you got to have, soft feet. You got to have soft feet, and then you can scan, then you can see what's going on. Slow the game down, don't make the game go so fast. And that game there, second half, the play right before the half, it was something kind of weird to me because I'd never seen him do that before, because he knows the clock real well, and he's pretty good with, feeling pressure and stuff like that, and knowing when he has to get rid of the ball real quick or whatever. And he held that ball, and then he tried to call timeout, and I was like, I don't think we have any timeouts left. And so that kind of gave me a little pause for concern. Second half, I just don't know. It was just different. I'd never seen him play like that. So maybe it's a credit to the Bengals. Maybe they came up with something that was really confusing him. But most of the times he can, second half is normally when he really comes on. So but it was strange. But we've talked about it the game afterwards since, and I know he's still hurting. I know he's more determined. He just started back working out, and he's more determined to get there because I think the ones that he lose hurt way more than, they fuel him way more than the ones that he win. I know he wants to be back there every year and he wants to win it every year, but when he falls short, he just feels like that the season wasn't a success, no matter where it ended up at. So people would take, 4, championship games, and a couple of Super Bowls and be pretty happy about it. But I just know it makes him that much madder and more determined to get back there and to win it again.
Patrick's only 26 years old. He'll be 27 this September. It's assumed that he's got many years of football left in him, given the ultra-competitive nature he exudes from press conferences, practices, and games, like you said right there. The losses stick with him a lot more than the wins do, or they at least drive him a lot more. Tom Brady just retired, allegedly, at 44 years old. Do you anticipate that your son Patrick is going to be a quarterback that will play into his 40s?
He's going to have luck. He's going to have some luck. Not get no big injury or nothing like that. I know that he's going to play as long as he can because he doesn't know anything else to do. He's going to compete at whatever he does. Me and him go out to the golf course. It's just like a football game. We're going to compete and we're going to talk trash to each other and try to beat each other. And that's all he knows how to do is compete. Will he make it to 40? I don't know. It won't be for lack of trying because he'll definitely be trying to get there because I know he has his eyes set on some goals and stuff that he wants to accomplish, and it might take the 40 to get there. So, being that the guy set the bar so high over there, and he's 44, so he might have to play the 40. But game's a little different now. I think it's a little safer for quarterbacks. So if he can avoid, anything really, really big, I think he has a shot, outside shot to make it before.
Well, just for the record, Pat, if he decides, that, hey, I want to go ahead and play until 40, I don't think any of us are going to be upset. I think we're all really good with that. So, Pat, if you want to just go ahead and let him know that we fully support that decision, I would be grateful for that. So
Under one condition, though, they can only play for the Chiefs now.
there we go.
You
Exactly.
got to
Thank
play
you,
for the
Pat.
Of
Chiefs.
course.
Yes. But now you've gotten to spend a handful of seasons around the NFL and have absorbed its culture. Could you explain to us, the people that don't really get that insight, just the similarities and differences between pro football culture and pro baseball culture?
Well, I think that the biggest part of it is I think the football players get cheated a little bit. They only get to go in the night before and get to see the city, one night or whatever. And most of them don't go out then. They go catch quick dinner. They got curfew, and then they're up next day going to meetings, going to the ballpark, and going home. Whereas in baseball, we normally go to a city. We're there 4 days. We get a chance to, soak it in, soak it up, and soak it in, and get to see different stuff. And which I think is neat. Also, the mentality is in football mentality. You get one game a week, you only get 17 of them. And in baseball, we get 162. So every game isn't do or die as much as theirs are. They have to try to win every week. I mean, yeah, you try to win every baseball game, but it's not required for you to, for you to have success. I mean, you just got to win more than you lose, basically, and you'll probably get a chance to be in the playoff. Whereas in football, they got to have that mentality that we got to win this week because this week is going to affect next week. And at the end of them, we stack them up and see how many we got, and if that's good enough for us to get in the playoffs or whatever. So that's the different mindset I think that they have. Where, like I said, baseball, you have so many games that you it's like a routine. It's like every day you go to the ballpark, and you go to the ballpark at a certain time, and you take your batting practice, and then you go up and get ready for the game. Then you play a baseball game, and then you go home afterwards or whatever you're going to do, or go out or whatever you're going to do, and then you got to start back again the next day. Whereas in football, like I said, it's once a week.
Yeah. Sure. Well, this is going to be a little bit more of a personal question, Pat, but I've been really excited to hear this one from you, man. You've been a father for a long time now, but you've recently become a grandfather. I want to know how much fun it's been for you to be able to spoil a little Sterling, as opposed to having to raise a son, raise kids. You get to spoil this granddaughter now and then send her back to Patrick and Brittany. What's this like for you, man?
Well, I mean, it's getting fun now. It's really getting fun now. She just turned one the other day on the 20th, and she's getting where she's starting to recognize a little bit more and understand kind of what's going on. You can play ball with her a little bit of it. You can do. I mean, she knows who I am now. It's just not like this that. So that's the fun part of it. I think it's going to be awesome. Can't wait till she starts walking and starts talking a little bit more, being able to say Pat instead of mom and dad, but we're getting there. It's a slow process, but once we get there, I mean, I think it's going to be a blast.
That's awesome, man. I'm happy for you guys, man. Final question for you here, Pat. And again, I really do appreciate you being here with us, man. It's been an absolute blast. Love to have you back. I don't know how much time you've previously spent in Kansas City. I know you said that being a baseball player, you get to kind of soak in a town, so I'm assuming that you played here in Kansas City quite a bit, but you've been here a lot more over the last 5 years since Patrick got drafted here. Now that your family has become a part of the Kansas City family and community, I'd really like to know your thoughts on the city and the people as a whole, and if this was the type of city environment you had envisioned for your son to inherit while he pursued his dreams.
No, I mean, I love it there. I love it there. I love the fans. The fans are rowdy. I mean, it's right. It's the kingdom. It's to me, it's the best fans around. They're very supportive. And a funny story is when Patrick was getting drafted. When he was getting drafted, he came home and I was asking him. He was going on these trips. He went to New York and he went to Chicago and Houston, and we were going to all these places. Some of them I got to go with him, and everything. And we were sitting around talking. I said, if you could go anywhere, which one would you want to go to? And he said Kansas City, and I was like, okay. And so we were hoping that that he went to Kansas City because of that. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's a great fan base. And somewhere where he could go and, like I said, he wouldn't have to start out like a guy from Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence or something, with a team that's horrible. At least you can play with a team that has some good players that have had success, and you can maybe fit right in and then help contribute and get to where he was as quickly as he did. Because if he goes to somewhere else, let's say he went to Chicago or Cleveland or Cincinnati, we wouldn't be talking about this probably. Yeah, he would probably have good numbers, but he wouldn't have the team success that he has. And the team success, brings the individual success. So KC is an awesome place. I loved it when I played baseball. Played baseball there. I've loved it even more since I've been there, and now I'm just gonna get everybody else to figure out my real name is Pat instead of Patrick's dad. But once I get that done, I really fall in love with the place.
Yeah, man. Well, we love having him here. We hope he's here for a lot longer, 15, 20 more years. Hopefully, that'd be great to have him here. We love having you guys, more importantly. That's why I'm so glad to have you on the show, man, because I love hearing your stories, because you had your career, you did what you've done, you've lived a life, and I always love talking to you, man. I always love having you here, and we'd love to have you back. Guys, definitely follow my guy Pat Mahomes on the Big Mahomes Show. It's a great show. I've been a part of it. I've been very privileged to be a part of it. I'm very privileged to be able to talk to my guy Pat. And Pat, thank you so much for being here with us today, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, Lance, Eddie, Trev. Hey, we had a great time. Let's run it back anytime, all right?
That sounds great, man. We look forward to it. Thank you, Pat.